We'll be discussing the challenges faced by young girls in countries like Afghanistan and Nigeria, where security issues dominate day-to-day life. Welcome. In a conservative society like Afghanistan, getting a university education can be very difficult for young girls. Many families simply will not allow their daughters to carry on studying, and those who do face stiff competition to get into university. Less than half of all candidates are successful. But this year, a young Afghan girl gained the highest mark in the country's national university entrance exam. She came top out of 225,000 applicants. Shoure Ghaderi says living in the relatively peaceful province of Balkh and having the support of her parents and siblings allowed her to focus on her studies. In a moment, we'll be discussing the barriers to education facing some women around the world. We'll also be asking what more needs to be done to ensure more girls are able to achieve their full potential, like Shoure. First, though, let's have a look at her story.
There were 160 multiple choice questions in the exam. I answered them all. I only made 3 mistakes. I remembered I was doubtful about one question. It asked what the chemical formula was for phosphoric acid. It was a very easy question, but I don't know if I chose the right answer. I love maths and I love physics too, and my dad used to help me with my questions. I don't believe this has anything to do with luck. I was brought up in an academic family where everyone cares about education. When you see what life is like in other provinces, you could see why the exam was very difficult for others. Many students who sat the exam have no security where they live. They don't have proper books or teachers or access to computers. They have nothing. I've chosen to study medicine in Kabul. I think if I go far away from home, I'll focus more. I grew up in Mazar Sharif, but I'd like to go to Kabul University because it's different there. Some people won't let their daughters study because of the lack of security. If everywhere was safe, no one would have any excuse for stopping their daughters from studying, and it would become an outdated tradition. I don't have any special technique for studying. It's said that 98% of your success depends on how hard you work, and just 2% depends on your talent. So I always say to others, don't think you are not talented. Everything is possible if you have strong will. You have to have a goal in life and believe that nothing can stop you from achieving it.
Shoure Ghaderi there. Well, Hasina Safi is head of the Afghan Women's Network, a coalition of women's groups in Afghanistan. She joins us via webcam from Kabul, and in the studio I'm joined by Dr Grace Kerry, an educational consultant here in the UK and founder and CEO of the Gift of Grace Education Project, which supports girls in Nigeria. Thank you both for joining us. Hasina, I'll just start with you. Shoure is one of the luckier ones, isn't she? She comes from a family who supported her education, but that's not always the case with young girls in Afghanistan.
Thank you very much. Pass my regards to all the friends in UK, especially those who support the women of Afghanistan with education. I totally agree with Sharia. She's our pride. And definitely she has struggled a lot. And her family is equivalently apart with that due to the reasons in Afghanistan and due to the traditionals and cultural barriers. So she has to be proud of her family and the people who have surrounded her to get the result today.
But she's quite lucky. Not all Afghan girls have this same opportunity from their families.
I totally agree with you. There are several barriers in Afghanistan. We can say those are social barriers, cultural barriers, traditional barriers, as well as one of the very, very physical and one of the very visual barriers is security, which is especially in the provinces more than the capitals and the capitals of the provinces. That is one of the biggest barrier to the girls, especially in Afghanistan. Whereas irrelevant to that or parallelly to that, there are, due to the very less literacy rate in Afghanistan, that most of the majority of the people in Afghanistan are illiterate, and they do not understand the importance of education, which is the first or the initiative to a developed community. So there are several barriers, which is traditional, cultural, and social, as well as security. She's very lucky.
We'll come to security in a moment. We'll just bring Grace into the conversation. Grace, you know all too well how much the lives of women can change when education is brought into their lives, don't you?
Exactly. Because I'm one of those people who have benefited from being educated. I had an education because my parents were educated, and they've supported education for girls. And that's what I'm trying to do at the moment, because when a girl is educated, the whole community benefits from that, you know. And there are a lot of constraints to girls' education in Nigeria. For instance, like the lady from Afghanistan said, the social, cultural, and physical problems for young girls in Nigeria. And today in Nigeria, there are like 4.5 girls are not in primary school. And so the cultural aspect of it is that girls are like second-hand citizens in Nigeria. They're not sent to school. If there are boys in the family and there's any choice, they rather send the boy or the boys. So the girls lose out a lot. Either they stay home to help their mothers, or go to the market, or go hawking, go selling food in the streets, which is a very serious danger to young girls and the families.
Hasina mentioned tradition, but do you think religion plays a part in it as well?
I think religion does, especially in northern Nigeria, because in northern Nigeria, most of them are Muslims. But also in southern Nigeria, where there are Christians, it also affects the girls, you know, depending. If their parents are educated or they go to church, the children have more opportunity, the girls. Their parents can be convinced to send the girls to school. But normally in the rural areas where people are poor and there's no funding to send them to school, it's very difficult.
Hasina, you mentioned security as also a barrier for these girls getting an education. Can you just tell us how that stops girls from becoming educated?
First of all, as I indicated before, is, for example, as you also saw in the clip where Sharia was talking, and she said that she prefers to go to Kabul. One of the biggest reasons is the security, which is inside Kabul. Now, in the provinces, because in the last 14 years, there have been very good achievements. And today, almost 17% of higher education the girls, 17% of female population is having access to higher education, but with a lot of constraints. Security-wise, it is like this, that either it is very distant from where the girls are located. In the provinces, for example, in each province, there might be in a zonal level a lot of access to higher education, or even in the provinces, it might be in the capital, where when you go to the more remote areas, there might be a will, there might be commitment, there definitely shall be the talent. But because there are no schools, there are no higher education institutes, so this is why the girls cannot go. Or either if they are, maybe they have to pass out one province from another province. There is when the issue of security comes, that on the way they might be killed, they might be kidnapped, they
Which
might
is what
be...
we've seen has happened to, you know, these 200 girls who have been abducted from northern Nigeria. Grace, do you think that this deters, you know, young girls from going to school for fear that that might happen? Very briefly.
Yes, yes. And for their parents as well. Parents are frightened or afraid when they send their children to school. They don't know what will happen on the way or whether they'll come back home. Yes, the fear factor is there. But I think what has happened in northern Nigeria is abhorrent. You know, these are bloodthirsty thugs who think they can, by sheer force or because they have guns, prevent girls from going to school.
Okay, thanks very much for joining us, Grace and Hasina from Kabul.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.